The Buda part of Budapest is named after Attila the Hun's brother Bleda, according to an enduring legend. But despite some unreliable medieval sources making this claim, there's actually little in the way of archaeological or linguistic evidence for this. This myth does involve some really entertaining storytelling, though. So Attila came to rule the Huns alongside his brother Bleda. Attila pretty famously had a Moorish dwarf as a jester named Zerko, but the dwarf was originally acquired by Bleda. Bleda died, however, and contemporary sources from the time speculated that Attila himself murdered his own brother, either out of ambition or self-defense. Regardless, later Hungarian medieval chronicles, especially the most unreliable and fanciful ones, inspired folk etymologies connecting the city of Buda with Bleda, and that the city was the capital of the Hunnish Empire. As awesome as this would be, there really aren't records of this prior to the 13th century, but the medieval narrative of Simon Kezai's Gesta Hungarorum about the murder of Bleda is pretty entertaining. In it, Kezai says Attila had Bleda murdered because Bleda named a city after himself while Attila was fighting in the west. Kezai says, although Attila issued an order to his Huns and other followers that the city was to be referred to as the city of Attila, and the Germans, out of fear, respected the order and called the city Etzelberg, the Huns paid scant heed to it and continued to call it O Buda, as they still do today. I think what Kezai does here is pretty clever rhetorically. After all, why would Attila name a city after the brother that he killed? In creating this narrative, he helps establish Hungarian-Hun continuity. He explains why the Germans, who fear the glorious Huns of course, bend the knee to Attila and call it Attila City, and he explains why the Hungarians, who come from Huns after all and obviously know better, still call it the Bleda influence name, because they were certainly there when it happened. The great writer János Aran, inspired by medieval chronicles, wrote the epic Buda Halala, or Death of Buda, which elegantly illustrates the tension between these brothers. In this version, Attila wishes to remain in yurts like nomads, but his brother wants to settle in a city of stone. But okay, so where do linguists think that Buda comes from? Well, don't get mad at me for saying this, but the linguistic consensus is that just like the Romans, who admired the location for its water and named their settlement there Aquincum, Buda comes from the Pannonian Slavic etymology for water. So while it's not Palinka and likely not related to Attila's brother, it is pretty funny to me that the words Budapest and vodka probably share an etymology.